I extend a welcome to new Councillor John Kennedy, first meeting. Welcome, John. I hope you enjoy your time with it. Okay. Okay, apologies, please. I don't think there are any tonight. Declarations of interest. Have you disclosed any pecuniary interest that you may have? Also any other interest, and obviously the book is here if you need to sign tonight. But don't forget to advise the clerk of any change in your interest. So it can be included in the register of members' interest. Okay. Okay, minutes of the meeting of the 11th of November. Any comments or anything? Can I have a proposal for those? Second by Councillor Lucas. All those in favour? You can't vote on them. Sorry. Everybody else voted?
Vince is abstaining.
Okay. 2, 4,
Sorry.
6, 8. And 2 abstentions.
I'm not watching the football. I'm following the agenda online.
Yeah, we've got this in there.
It's the first I've done it.
Okay, the next item is Councillors' questions. None notified to me, apart from one we've got to revisit, which is a question asked by, well, 3 questions asked by Councillor Brookes back in the 14th of October. About an investigation I'd authorised and why, in his words, it was secret. My answer at the time was that the Chairman has authority to commission an investigation of the Council's procedures. It was not secret but confidential. And because he was not involved in the investigation panel, nor was he a witness, he did not need to know. Councillor Brookes was not satisfied with the answer and asked that the Council obtain advice. Now Legal in London were asked to clarify the point regarding need to know, which they have done, and this information has been passed to Councillor Brookes. The authority for a chairman to commission an investigation is contained in the Town Clerk's disciplinary procedure, paragraph 4.2. Councillor Brookes has now requested that further legal advice be obtained as he remains dissatisfied with the answer from Now Legal. I have given the reference for a chairman to convene an investigation, and the solicitor from Now Legal has given 3 examples of the need to know principle. I am not prepared to continue to obtain legal advice at the cost to the Council and consider that this question has been fully answered. Therefore, this matter is now complete. Well, it would be if we went out for more information, because we couldn't go back to Now Legal.
Could I just say, Chairman, that sorry, I'll stand. The examples were not what I asked for. I asked on what authority, in obviously my questions, the examples that were given by now were totally irrelevant, and my question and your answer wasn't put to them, so I don't believe that this has been resolved. When the Chairman, I haven't got that information in front of me about the disciplinary thing, but on the phone the clerk stopped answering me because it very clearly said that the Chairman can't do it on his own. It has to be done with 3 other members.
There's no more on this. The matter is now closed.
Well, no, it won't be, because I'll have to...
Closed.
At this stage it is, but I feel that it hasn't been answered properly, and, and I will reword my question. Thank you anyway.
You'll get a suitable response from me for it.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is Chairman and Members' Reports. Members' Reports from Councillor Hopkins.
I went to Rutland Access Group meeting on the 2nd of December. Many issues around Rutland, but mainly concerning Oakham, was the Victoria Hall one, Michael, you could probably take back, was when the lift gets broken, how long the repairs take, because it excludes quite a lot of disabled people. There was various things like disabled parking around town, which we've all discussed before. The castle, what kind of access they're going to have at the castle for visually impaired as well as disabled. Yeah, they're all part of it. A-boards was a big concern, which we could possibly think of as a council when we put our A-boards outside as well. one I think will be of interest to us was they were concerned about how information gets out to people, services available, information and advice, and a suggestion came up of a parish magazine, which is probably something we could look at next year. I know Oakham's a big place, so it's not like a village, but it's worth taking into consideration. I've also been going out to all the schools to meet the children that have done the Christmas trees this year, who have all been very excited, very happy to receive the £25. Alf will be going out to the winner next week to give the £100 book token, and a letter's gone off to Brookes Plastics to thank them for their sponsorship for the prizes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Elliott, you have a report on Rutland Together, I believe.
I do, sir. I attended a meeting of Rutland Together, more specifically entitled Local Strategic Partnership, on the 11th of November. And Kate Howard at RCC has recently issued 5 pages of minutes, which I can make available to anybody. If I just read you the couple of sentences that the chairman of that meeting read out as the point about this thing. The purpose of the local strategic partnership is to represent the community. All key services are members of the group, with a number of theme groups feeding into the LSP, Local Strategic Partnership. Frequency of meetings is likely to be no more than twice per year. The LSP need to agree how to strategically move forward over the coming years and how to work together to ensure Rutland continues to be a special place. So this is quite an ambitious, at that point, not very defined set of aspirations. There were quite senior people there. The policeman who came to see us here, the head of the fire service, a representative officer from the 4 regiments that are at the 2 stations, and citizens' advice, voluntary action, obviously RCC. It was agreed there should be a workshop as the next meeting on the 28th of January at RCC, an all-day workshop, 9 till 5. And so I will intend to go along to that, and I would have thought if anybody else wants to come, they would be entitled to, but Chairman, you may know the answer to that because you were this representative before. Can anybody else go along?
I don't know what the workshop is about, sorry.
Well, it's to follow the... that's more easily understood when you see the minutes, certainly.
I mean, if it's open, then please everybody go.
Okay, well anyway, I'll distribute the minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe.
Chairman, thank you. 2 things, very briefly. Wanted to formally apologise to the chairman, the councillors and the council for my poor handling of the leasing of Cuts Close at the Planning and Parks when I made a public statement. That's the end of the matter. The second thing is, late night shopping, I think was a huge success for the council. The promotions working group, Vince, Joyce, Jasmine, did fantastic.
Yeah.
And in particular, I think Jasmine has
Yes.
excelled and has demonstrated how the councillors should conduct themselves when they're dealing with events like that. She's been absolutely incredible. On the evening, we had no issues at all. The chamber was in use because Joyce maximised that, and outside we were extremely busy all night, and all my nuts went. The proceeds from the tombola were £111.12, which is for the Mayor's charity. There you go. And that's it. Thank you, Chairman.
Well done. It was a good evening.
Chairman, can I just add that there will be a letter coming from the children need people for the use of the building?
We have it, all right.
Oh, thank you.
Which ones? The ones who are here?
The one, the net national.
Yes, we've got that already.
Oh, right. Thank you.
On my report's short this time. Sunday the 29th of November was the Oakham Christmas lights switch on, which I think most of you attended. Then on last Monday, the 7th, apart from being at the late night shopping, I also went to an SPCC carol concert at the All Saints Church, which was very, very well attended again. Okay, class reports.
Thank you, Chairman. Very, very briefly, just for new members and old, really, the office is closed over the Christmas period from Christmas Eve. We'll reopen on Monday the 4th of January. I do pop in the intervening period just to make sure that everything's okay. Next one down is Chipfield Circus. You've got it there, that Chipfields will not be coming this year. You've got the reasons for them there. I'm not proposing to read them out. You've got them all there. The main one seems to be that they have not got time to put down suitable tracking as a base. Okay, so they will not be here in 2015, but would like to obviously discuss with members about 2016. The next one down. This has been mentioned in past and in budget reports about street lighting for parishes and town councils. Now, Rutland County Council's places scrutiny panel met last month about this. They supported an option that could well see Rutland County Council seeking to recover energy costs for some street lighting, by no means all, from town and parish councils. No, doesn't seem to be any indication of time. There's a huge link there, which is where the minutes of that meeting are. All the reports can be viewed on Rutland County Council's website as well. And the option that they went for was one called option 4, okay, which is where they would upgrade the lights, be responsible for the maintenance, but would seek to recover the energy costs from parish councils. Okay, I can email that out so it's easier for everybody else to just paste it in and have a look at it. Cotsmore Hunt now, members may be aware that Rutland County Council have given permission for the Hunts meeting, Captain's Park car park for this year, so that's that one sorted. And Jasmine's alluded to this about A-boards, etc., from her Rutland Access Group meeting. Rutland County Council are again consulting various stakeholders, not on A-boards but all advertising, signage, etc. The response is due by January the 14th, which is very, very tight for Oakham Town Council. It's not meeting again until January the 13th. I've emailed the officer concerned and asked if we can have a couple of weeks' grace on that, whether that comes through or not. There is a lot of that, and I will email all of that out to you shortly, probably tomorrow.
Thank you. Any deputations from members of the public? Councillor Walters.
Thank you, Chairman. In regard to item 8 on the agenda, the neighbourhood plan, this is of course a matter entirely for yourselves. But if anyone has forgotten, I hope you haven't, just a few months ago you did ask for a boundary review and you asked for Barleythorpe to be incorporated in Oakham. That was your recommendation when you asked for the boundary review. I just mentioned that in case it's of any interest to new members who may not be aware of it when deciding the scope of the neighbourhood plan. Item 10, the budget, Chairman. I notice that it's saying a zero budget for CCTV. I'm not sure whether that's because you're awaiting a request for funding from our RCC, or whether it now appears under another heading that I'm not aware of. It may, however, simply be the case that it's cut, as indicated here, that the heading has been cut. And if that is the case, then I do have a comment, and I've prepared it. It is with some disappointment that it is noted that OTC no longer wishes to partner RCC and the police in a small way in developing and maintaining CCTV in Oakham. It is a contrast with Uppingham, where there is active partnership and interest. The new cameras have already played an important part in 2 incidents. As I say, later on, when you come to that item, perhaps I'll understand better. And the last one, Chairman, is item 11, the cemetery. And I merely wish to say that I do believe you can make a better job of it than RCC. I did have an unkind person say it's easy to snipe from the outside, I bet they don't take it on when it comes to it. I think that was desperately unkind. I do think we have the ability and the time and the facilities, and I really hope that any small issues that remain can be ironed out, even if it's a case of approved subject to, and we have to finish those things off. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. No vote, Matt.
Hopefully you've all read the paper that came out. The group is coming towards its end now, and we have a number of recommendations. These are based on the desire that was being shown by the public for an neighbourhood plan for Oakham, in the bulk of the paper there. So the recommendations are that the council agrees to commence an open neighbourhood plan early 2016, that a steering group of 15 is appointed to drive the plan forward. The steering group, we would like to see 2 town councillors on the steering group and 1 representative from
Oakham Town Partnership.
thank you, Oakham Town Partnership. Once the steering group is formed, the working group would dissolve, its work would be finished. From that point onwards, the council's role really would be as a facilitator. The steering group will be made up of people from the community. That group would drive the plan forward with the support and help of the council, but it won't be a council plan. That's very important, we feel, that it is seen to be, and it is a neighbourhood plan developed by the community for the community. So we will then become facilitators. The remaining 12 people will be drawn from the community. Now, we will be calling, I hope, if the recommendations go forward, we'll be calling a meeting fairly quickly of the people who have displayed interest in the neighbourhood plan. We will explain to them in more detail what is involved, because it is going to be 2 to 3 years of work, a lot of commitment, a lot of work from people. We would foresee that the steering group does steer this. It would need to appoint a number of possibly ad hoc working groups to look at specific bits that need to be done to bring back to that group to drive the plan forward. That's it, thank you very much. We'll take any questions.
Can I just make a point on that, just been pointed out to me by the clerk, that the wording on recommendation 5 should read, the neighbourhood plan working group recommend to the council the remaining 12 members of the steering group from the names of the volunteers received, because a working group cannot have delegated responsibility.
Thank you.
So, need to go the way around. Any thoughts, anybody? Yes, Councillor.
Can I just say, I'm pleased we've actually finally reached this stage, and I'd like to, as a person who wasn't permitted to be on the group, but was able to observe and assist in a little way of how well the councillors who were on that group have progressed with this. Then I come to the recommendations. I'm a little concerned maybe the wrong word, that we're not asking for a representative from Rutland County Council in the sense of an Oakham Ward councillor. If we're asking the partnership, which I don't really like, why are we not asking a Rutland County councillor to be on it, which would probably have more knowledge of what goes on overall in our community. So that was just my sticking point, that we're asking a town partnership person but not a Rutland County councillor.
You say that obviously selection on this is not based on likes and dislikes. As you
Well, I apologise for that.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Anybody wish to make?
It's the organisation, not the individuals.
Okay. Okay, recommendation number 1 is that the council agree to commence the Oakham neighbourhood plan at the earliest opportunity in 2016. Can I have a proposal for that? Yes. Second, Stan. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Unanimous, thank you. A steering group of 15 be appointed to drive the plan forward. Brad proposed. Michael, second. All those in favour? Unanimous again. 2 members of the council be appointed to the steering group. And then at this point, well, the best first of all take it is to have a proposal for that. Councillor Stubbs, Councillor Hopkins. The second one,
vote.
sorry, Racing again?
Yeah.
All in favour? Okay, unanimous. Okay, come nominations then for the 2 members of the council to be appointed. Yeah.
I'd like to nominate Michael.
Hayley.
Hayley, sorry.
Okay.
And the mayor, of which should be whichever mayor it happens to be at the time.
No. Okay, we've got proposed for Michael Haley. Can I have a seconder for Michael? Can I take signatures on both and both and both? Richard?
Let's do one at a time.
That's fine. All those in favour of councillor Haley? Unanimous. And the second one was the mayor
Of the time.
of the time, the mayor.
And I'd like to nominate myself, but I don't think we can nominate the mayor because we don't know who the mayor would be.
Well, as the mayor is an ex officio position.
It's a position rather than the
So
person.
whoever it is, the mayor takes it.
We might not want it.
I'll delegate it.
Chairman's ex
So
officio.
let's get involved in that because it
I'll second that proposal for the mayor.
Yes.
all those in favour.
I'd like to nominate myself, and I did say that before the vote was taken. So I think they should
Okay,
be
I'll take
elected.
those down. Councillor Brookes nominated himself. Is there any seconders for Councillor Brookes? Councillor Elliott. Okay, all those in favour of Councillor Brookes?
Well, we got to vote for because there's the mayor and
No, we'll come
and
back
myself.
to
We
that.
have to vote for them.
We'll come back to that.
Well, no, that's the correct way to do it. 2
Thank you
people
very
have been
much, Councillor
proposed.
Brooks. We'll do that. All those in favour of Councillor Brooks? 2, all those against?
No, I didn't.
I went up with the 4.
Which one? You were 4, sorry, I missed that. There was 3 before, I missed it.
No,
All those against?
I'm with it as well. If we're going for having Councillor Brookes on there, I'm for Councillor Brookes.
We're voting in favour.
Yes.
So there's 4 for Councillor Brooks. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So the 2 people who have been
What was the vote for the mayor? Because I didn't vote. It was just a quick rush. That's why I say it's not been done properly then.
what was the vote? Okay.
Because
Can we
I
take the
didn't vote.
On the mayor again, please.
Proposed by Joe, seconded by Vince.
Right, and those.
Did you get the vote?
Well, it's unanimous, you said.
No, it wasn't
No, it wasn't.
because I'll be voting
Okay, we'll take it again
against it.
to all those in favour of the
The
mayor.
mayor of the time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All those against? 1. Do you want that recorded?
No, don't worry. Just
Okay.
it's recorded
So
on
the two
video.
members of the council appointed to the steering group are Councillor Haley and the mayor at the time.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Oakham Town Partnership being advised to appoint 1 representative. First Councillor Haley, seconded Councillor Howard.
Hello?
Makes it all those in favour? Okay. All those against?
Sorry, how many was that?
Everybody but 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 9. And 1 against, sorry, that would be 9.
I don't
Not
think
recorded, Councillor Brooks.
you can do because I don't think any other organisation should have
The
priority
Neighbourhood
over
Plan Working
names
Group
of
recommend to the Council the remaining 12 members of the steering group and the names of volunteers received. Proposal, please. Councillor Haley, second. Councillor Hopkins, all those in favour? Same as last time. All those against?
Yeah, I'll be for that.
You're for it, that's your amendment. The Neighbourhood Plan Working Group originates a reporting regime for the steering group and reports that regime to a future council. First by Councillor Haley, second. Councillor Kennedy. All those in favour? Unanimous. First meeting of the steering group, the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group be disbanded. Don't think that. All those in favour?
Sorry, who seconded that?
Didn't get it.
Well, I did.
Seconded by Joyce, thank you.
Thank you. And that's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Now, members will be aware that tonight we have a fairly full meeting with a large agenda. And therefore, the next item on the agenda, which is item 9, I consider needs some debate. And I don't think we can give that justice tonight. So I'm going to propose that this item is deferred until the next available council meeting.
Yes.
So, well, I propose it. Councillor Lucas, second. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 10 is the budget.
Right, everybody's hopefully had a chance to look at what the Financial Matters and Procedures Working Group have been working on as regards to the budget. See, the decision on the budget is has to be made at the January meeting of the council. Okay, so basically what you have is summaries of why there is such a considerable increase, mitigated by some increases in certain budget headings which Councillor Walters has alluded to. Some notes on the budget. We now know the tax base level, or the provisional one there, is extremely unlikely that that will change. It has never changed in my time as clerk to the council. One thing we don't know is the level of the council tax support grant, so we're waiting on that. Basically, you then have a cash flow projection. Certain assumptions have had to be made with this, but it is correct up to the end of November, so the Finance Working Group is only projecting 4 months ahead. And then you have a draft version 3 of the budget. Now, the basic crux of all of this is the Finance Group is asking members to make the decision that any increase in the precept is limited to a maximum of 2%, and to avoid any doubt, that is a maximum of 2% for a Band E equivalent property. It is not a 2% increase on the precept. The reason for that is because there are slightly more people paying the precept next year, the increase in the precept is more than the amount on a Band E house. And it's quite a difficult concept to get around, but the more people that are paying, then the less each individual pays. So the actual, if the budget is approved as is in January, the actual increase in the precept is 3.79%, but a Band D property is only increased by 2%. Okay, so that's what the Finance Group is asking at this meeting.
Thank you. Any questions from Councillor Wilkie?
I have to say, Chairman, that I am disappointed, like Councillor Walters, about the CCTV. I've been in consultation as at the parish forum and at other functions in Oakham, and they are quite happy to work in partnership for their CCTV. In fact, they were saying, some of them, and I'm not going to name any people, were saying we don't even notice that our CCTVs are all over the town. We just get on and do what we have to do. If by chance somebody is not behaving themselves, that is when the CCTV comes into its own. And I'm quite disappointed that the budget heading has completely gone. We should be working in partnership, and I also have to say that I am quite dismayed that we're not having them at having it at Royce's recreation ground as well.
Any other comments? Councillor Brookes.
Yes, on this matter of the CCTV, I think it's probably slightly tiny bit unfair to be critical on that budget heading, because I know that it was cut because of things that were said at a meeting, a public meeting, when Roger Beggy said it doesn't work. And I think that decision was made to cut it because why should we pay? And as the member of the public has alluded tonight, I don't believe the council's been approached under this new project for any support. So perhaps the heading should remain. And that's what I'm going to bring up again about a heading that I keep repeatedly asking, and I'm getting frustrated because I'm being ignored. I would like a heading for the CA, which used to be the CAB, added. It doesn't mean we're going to pay them any money, but in January I'm working with the CAB to bring an agenda item to council so that they can come to us for desperately needed funding. That will be for the council to decide. But if we haven't got a budget heading on there,
For grants. For any grants.
But well, I don't mind the grants are gone, but we won't get into that. We are allowed to support the Citizens Advice Bureau under the statutory law. They don't have to come for grants, but we need a heading on there, which I've asked repeatedly for the heading to be put on there, and then we can make a decision in January. They're working with me to write up a report, and they're probably going to come and give a deputation if they can make it, because their funding is going into crisis from next year, and we use 50% of their services in Oakham, and we're funding it zero. Thank you. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, just because the budget heading isn't there, it doesn't mean that the council can't give money to the CAB as it decides. So,
But where do we get it from?
sorry.
If we don't budget for it, where will it come from?
Well,
Sorry.
Well, one of the things is that any additional expenditure comes either from the council's reserves. The council, the budget, the actual amounts that the council requests in the form of the precept can't change. Okay, but the council is quite within its rights to move budget headings, create budget headings, delete budget headings. It can't ask for any more money, but the thing from the finance group is, as it is, that any additional expenditure comes from the council's reserves. So just because the budget heading isn't there, this was something that was discussed. And I think both the other members here will be very pleased to hear that the CAB and yourself are working to bring a report to the council.
Yeah,
and,
I had a meeting with Mrs. Clayton-Jones yesterday.
So, okay, just because it's not there, it doesn't mean the council can't give the money.
Well, no, but why? Sorry to say, Chairman, but why weren't I told this? I've repeatedly asked here, and then I've asked in emails, and people don't tell you that, and it's come to this situation where we have to get the answer this evening here.
Any other comments on the budget?
Just going to say, in response to Martin, if you produce an agenda item, then it would presumably go on the agenda and can be discussed and voted on. And that's the correct way to do it. But as you haven't done that as yet, I'm pleased to see you're now doing that.
Yeah, there's no problem, but I don't quite know. I didn't quite know how the system worked, and if there's no, to me, if you have a budget, you're budgeting with the money you've got, and if they come for that money, and they could just say, well, we can't give it because we don't have it in a budget.
Okay, we understand it. I say, so this evening really is for the council to agree the increase in the precept is limited to a maximum of 2% for a Band D equivalent property in 2016-17. And that it agrees to the use of council reserves to make up any shortfall between projected income and expenditure. Apparently that will be no more than £16,400, but quite likely to be considerably less. Okay. Because of the projects we've got on, which may not come or may come to fruition. Can I have a proposer for that? Councillor Haley, thank you.
So you're asking for an increase.
Councillor Haley, all those in favour? Nine.
Yeah, that's
2%.
2%.
Those against?
I'm against any
Do you want it
increase.
recording?
Yes, please.
Okay. Any increase in what, sorry?
I have
In the
abstained.
precept.
I don't normally do, but I have abstained.
Did you abstain?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I saw your hand up.
8 votes
Sorry.
for,
Eight.
one
I
against
don't
and one
normally
abstain.
do that.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine, I've got some to work with now.
Oakham Cemetery, that's all over.
Obviously everyone's got the briefing paper, so hopefully they've read that. Michael Elliott sent a document, an email round with his viewpoints before this meeting, and there's a copy of it included as well this evening. Since that presentation I did for some members, and I've given a hard copy to Jasmine, and I went round and saw John as well, and went through that slideshow. There were some points brought up at that meeting that we had, and I just wanted to go over these briefly. You don't have to make any notes on this, Richard, because I'll give you this document when I've finished. Some of the things that came out of that meeting, and I won't rush through this, but I'll go through it quickish. Completion of works to an acceptable standard agreed with OTC and/or standard appropriate where building regulations apply. in the schedules, Rutland County Council say yeah, they get that and they're comfortable with that, and they'll make sure that's reflected when it comes to formalising the heads of terms. An additional term that is mentioned, that any liabilities or issues that are raised in regard to an error that's occurred on their watch, that they will be picking up that tab in the future. It could be that maybe there's been an issue with somebody's been buried in the wrong slot, for example. I'm not saying they have, but that just gives an example. And once again, Rutland County Council have come back and said, yeah, they understand, they're comfortable with that, subject to review and any additional wording needed with legal services. So it's something that our legal team can sort out with theirs to make sure it's written in. The standard of groundworks is a strong suggestion. It should not just be standard, it should be exceptional, as OTC have a flying start then. The council will accept only the very best. It's quite simple what's come back here. The Rutland County Council cannot commit to anything more and above than what they've already stated in the schedules. Bearing in mind that over the last year, Oakham Town Council people, myself, Joyce, Stan, Richard, we have been down there with them and talking about this, and I feel that we have got a very good set of schedules and works being requested that they've said they're going to do. Clarity on a couple of points on how long documents should be retained for. Is it 3 or 5 years? This has been looked into. There apparently is no definitive answer. There's no specific law or agreed industry standard. So it would be up to us. And the recommendation is that it would be that current year and the previous year. But all records are held in perpetuity anyway. So you know, you can go and recover records from the Wigston Records Office. So, but there's no rules. The issue about the council tax debate. Rutland County Council tax would not be affected by any decisions. And I'm not surprised by that, and I agree with that. I haven't got a problem with that, personally. Can you confirm that the staff that handle the books for the cemetery, not necessarily the financial stuff, but do they need to be accredited, have accredited training? Apparently none of the officers at Rutland County Council have done any of the ICCM stuff or any of this specialised training. It is administration-based training that they have, and that's all they do. One of the things about running the cemetery is that when the funeral directors and the people, they're the ones that actually manage the funerals. They're the ones that get all the paperwork. We sort of sign it all off and take the money off them. Shooting down to money, the thing about paying for plots up front, they charge an administration fee which covers that part of the work. So let's say it might be a couple of hours work, but the balance of any money, in other words, the actual land, the bulk of it, the bulk of the money, actually only gets paid when the funeral or the process is actually carried out. My reasoning for that, or from what I understand, the reasoning for that is that of course cemetery costs might rise. So actually by reserving a slot, it's an administration charge. So and
we don't know what that is.
And we don't know what that is, but it's an administration fee, which is about an hour's amount of time for one of their staff. So that's about £150, isn't it? I guess. I did also ask for what was last year's. I gave some figures which are contained in there for what 2013 was, I think, or 2012, and also where they were year to date this year. I asked for last year's figures, so a whole year's figures, and this is last year. Their total costs were £30,000, £29,841. Their total income, including the Oakham Town Council contribution of 5.5, was £26,771. So the actual net cost to Rutland County Council was £3,070. Oakham Town Council is what's been said in here as well, and at that briefing of budgeting £15,000. And that was all the points that came up. I'll allude to Michael's paper because everyone's had a chance to read it, and I get what Michael is saying. I partly agree with it, but I believe that when it mentions the bit about restoration, a restoration plan, and going out and getting a firm of surveyors or architects, the cemetery headstone work that they did where they got an outside body in, that is covered under that, because they're not just doing a fix, they're actually, where they can, they are restoring headstones, and where they can't repair them or restore them, they're removing them, they have to make them safe. And it's the same with the building. The work on there, it's been done by an outside firm, EKV, they paid a lot of money to have them do that. We asked for extra work to be done, and so far everything that we've asked for they've said. So whereas I see what Michael is stating here, I believe that everything that's been worked on over the last 12 months, in one format or another, is covered and from that point, I would say that I've got nothing more to say. Thank you.
Would you like to say something to your paper?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This is a transfer of a substantial asset, and just in passing, if the costs last year were 30,000 by RCC, there might have been more if they'd have looked after it better last year and done something towards the preparation for the handover. It just seems extraordinary to me that with the transfer of such a substantial thing, the OTC would even contemplate agreeing to that without proper professional advice. It's not in any sense a slur or a negative comment on the efforts of the group that have been working on it. It's just that it should be seen to be, perceptions are sometimes more important. After this happens, if it were to happen, OTC will be in the firing line. Why did you do this? Why did you do the other? So apart from anything else, it ought to take all reasonable steps to make sure that they are taking over, I think, a centre of excellence, or a site that is fully restored. It's got Victorian buildings in it, it's got an original layout, all of which are obscured at the moment. The layout, anyway, is obscured by the awful state that it's in. Why is it in an awful state? Why would you in any way appear to gloss over the fact that RCC will only do what you've been talking to them about for the last year? I think that's what I was the point I was trying to make. They've got together with you as chums on it, and now they're reluctant to come back from that and say, no, of course, we'll do whatever it takes to pass this over in a state that the town should be proud of. And it's not proud of it at the moment, it can't be.
Any other comments? Yeah, Councillor Brookes.
Yes, I'd like to think that Oakham Town Council will run this properly, but after coming to the presentation and being told that basically we don't have any management plan or any idea of who's going to run the cemetery when we take over on April the 2nd if we vote for it, I find that is a huge error. Yes, you've achieved a lot in the sense of being critical of RCC and what they haven't done and hope to get things put round the right way. But I didn't dig too much at the meeting because obviously it's not easy to ask questions. Right. But I asked a simple question, just one of the costs that will cost Oakham Town Council, and I was told that it wasn't included in this figure, and it was quite a significant cost, which would be how much of that cost there is for insurance. It doesn't include it. So I hear what people from Rutland County Council say, we want to take it over, but if they were presented figures like that to do a similar thing, I think this would be, not being rude, would be sent back. And they would not make a decision based on such small facts which probably don't include other costs. That's all I'll say. So I can't vote for it based on those principles.
I'll come back and just address the thing. First of all, we're not chums. We've actually been.
I didn't say chums.
I did say no, but Michael did.
Sorry.
I was listening at that point. I see that in the budget there's £2,000 been allocated into additional insurance. I don't know what that's for, but is that something to do with this? We already have public liability insurance for Cuts Close and for Royce's and for other parks. Because public liability insurance, what we'd probably have to have building insurance for that building as well. So £2,000 has been budgeted. I don't know what we currently pay for insurance as a council now. But the work that we've asked them to complete is not a patch-up job. It's to bring it up to the standard that we would accept before we took it over. So we're not glossing over anything. We're actually we've been negotiating and listening to residents where they have made comments, and there was a feeling from this town council, which is going back longer than that, because Rob Guthrie and myself and Richard were originally on this group, which is what, two years ago. Talking about these issues asking Rutland County Council to get the work done, Rutland County Council are in a more onerous position than we are, because they do not have the funds to keep putting money into it, because they can't increase their council tax. And I'm not saying that we should increase ours to fix this, but Oakham Town Council does seem to be able to manage things like this better than sort of the county issues do. And to me, I don't see what the sticking points are. Yes, it is a big investment. Yes, it is a huge cost. But it's also a huge opportunity where Oakham Town Council can rise to that challenge, because its administration is minimal. That's what we were told. That's why we were not panicked about it. We have already spoken, and the chairman alluded to previously, that as we go into more things and expanding the neighbourhood plans, that our team of people we have here could either increase their hours, we might bring in extra people. And that's where it would come into next year's budgets. But as moving forward point, that we would piecemeal from the point of view that next year we would look at it and assess it and probably think, before it gets into a state of disrepair, because it will be repaired and restored before we take it over. That is one of the things that's in the heads of terms. So this is as good as it gets. This is the best that is on the table. And we could go and ask a solicitor or an architect to go and review what we've been doing for the last year, because I'm not qualified to make some of the decisions that Michael has alluded to. And in some regards I do partly agree with him, but I don't believe there's any point in also spending £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 to draw similar conclusions. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but it is only a cemetery, a very nice cemetery, and can we maintain it once it's been brought up to standard? I still think we could.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Michael wants to come back.
Oakham Town Council will be better protected if a professional statement of standard is given, won't it? With the best will in the world. It will be better protected from whatever might happen afterwards. I don't see why we should be afraid of doing that. I did make the point that RCC should pay for it. So on £5,000, it is to their advantage that this gets taken over. And I think we're underplaying the standard of transfer. And I want to keep saying it's not a comment on the standard of your work.
No, I know that.
It's just an opportunity, a time, a once in a lifetime thing when you should have it done properly, and when a professional statement of standards should be there as the against which everything should be judged.
What I think has been said, Chairman, and we're overcooking this goose at the minute, I think.
Okay. One thing I noticed when I saw the specification for the cemetery, the specification of the cemetery would have been good enough to maintain it into an acceptable condition that we could take it over. Obviously that specification has not been monitored sufficiently, and that's the only thing I can come up with. The other point I was going to raise was that we've already said along the way that we would take over the cemetery subject to it being brought up to a certain condition.
Yeah.
What's your estimate of how long that would take to bring up to those conditions?
Well, it's difficult to say really, because Rutland County Council said that they're still aiming for April 1st, but that's subject to weather, and I think they'll struggle to do that really, because we asked that extra work is done to make sure that it is as good as it can be. Basically everything that the council and the people had asked for. And it's not about making it an easy ride for Rutland County Council or what's best for Rutland County Council, because in actual fact it's probably not best for Oakham Town Council to incur something that's going to cost them £30,000, then they've got to get revenue back in to pay that invoice. But what it is best for, the only people that really benefit from this are going to be the people of Oakham, because if Oakham Town Council take it on, they will have to make it work. So, and if the council choose to push it back to Rutland County Council and say, we want you to get another survey done, bearing in mind that they've already done this, and we know what the values of those are now, they will not pay for it. They will challenge that back and say no.
Mr. Brookes, you wanted a quick one?
Yeah, my fine. I am very concerned because obviously you've just mentioned the timeline. I agree with things that Mr. Elliott said, but I don't need to go because we've all seen the report. But we're talking about 3 months to get all that work done. We don't have anybody in place to run it. It's yeah, I have no disrespect to Mr. Lowe. He says it's just a cemetery. It's actually a working cemetery. It's not. It's totally different from the park. You know, we don't even know the basics when an undertaker rings us on the 2nd of
Mr. Brookes, you've
April.
already alluded to this. Can you move on to something new, please? You've already said this.
I hadn't said that part.
Yes, you have. Now, can you please move on to something new if you want to say?
That is something new. I'm just emphasising my second point is that we just do not
the point
have...
you're saying is emphasising, but you've already said about going away to manage it.
Can you stop interrupting me because you put me off?
Brookes, will you just get on?
No, I won't bother because obviously you're all going to do it and we're going to look stupid on April the 2nd.
Thank you, Chair. The one thing I want to say is that I back everything that Adam has said, and I think what is important to note that we're talking about done. If it's not done, it won't be April the 1st. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it does say that in the report.
Yeah.
But I want to emphasise it because some people aren't grasping that fact.
No, I think that's being said all the way along, isn't it?
I think we are, but it takes something from us.
Oh, just a minute, please. No cross table. I think that the point is we've said all the way along that we'll take this cemetery over, subject to it being in an acceptable standard.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think we've wavered from that all the way along. So I presume that RCC are aware of that.
Yeah, they are, Chairman. In fact, we asked for more. Please, sir, can we have some more? We have done this.
Okay. I'm getting the eye from the councillor. Would you? I'll allow him to speak once.
Chairman, that's very kind of you. Thank you. I did have a slight update today, and perhaps I should have mentioned it earlier. It may help you. Various groundworks and removal of planters, etc., has been commissioned and is going ahead no matter what the decision is made this evening. But I think the important one in terms of April the 1st is chapel works and headstone works have to go out to tender, as they are both expected to exceed the minimum that require us to do so.
Yeah.
And that being the case, I don't think there is any guarantee of April the 1st. And when I made my earlier comment, it was on the agreement subject to various criteria being met. So, if that's of any help.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Okay, let's clarify the point. Councillor Hopkins.
Sorry, you probably discussed this at the meeting, but I missed it. But if this April's been discussed next year, why have RCC not already started the work and already put things out to tender if they know whether we take it over or not, that work needs doing because the cemetery is a disgrace. So why have they not just started, do you know?
In brief, yeah, you put it down to financials. The headstone survey, where all this orange barrier fencing was up, that was part of their consultation. Apparently the fencing had to be up for a certain period of time with notices on, so the members of the public that had family there could actually have an opportunity to challenge back and say, we'll take ownership and we'll repair it. If nobody comes forward, then they do it. So that's why that took so long. As regards to the work on the building, where they've had that done in 2014, and the work was staged where some work was 6 months, some work was immediate, some work was staged 6 months, some was a year, some was 5 years. Some of the work they'd done, only one piece admittedly, and they just haven't got around to it. And I think one of the reasons is they didn't have the money, but they were going to do the work. And in actual fact, Mark Lauren had said to me in an email that regardless of what's happened, they would have to do this work anyway. Yeah. So all it in councils, and this is very evident, with certainly in recent weeks, things take an age, wheels take a long time to turn, and I think that is one of the reasons. And the other reason is that Rutland County Council they have to manage a tighter budget than us do. They have bigger problems than us. So that's all it is. They're never not going to be able to do the work, but it's just having to wait for it to be done. So,
2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So any other comments on this one?
If there's no other comments,
would you like to?
I'm sticking to the purple paper, and I'm the recommendations from and it's only recommendations from the Cemetery Working Group based on the report, findings, and other negotiations. That Oakham Town Council agreed formally to take over the running and management of the cemetery, subject to the final heads of terms being agreed with any suggestions, recommendations, and amendments accordingly. So that's the first one.
Before you go on to the next one, could you expand on that by what you mean by the final heads of terms?
Well,
and what happens if the cemetery is not ready for takeover on the 1st of April?
If it's not ready for takeover, then what it would do, until it is ready for takeover, then what's written into the heads of terms anyway, the work has to be completed before we take ownership of it.
Right.
So if they're running behind time because of weather or for whatever reason, it means it will fall on month by month. Okay. This is why it's written into the heads of terms as well, that think money that we pay to Rutland County Council, like the 5,500, is pro rata and things like that.
So, sorry to just dwell on this one, but am I correct in thinking then that at some point we've got to decide whether we're going to take it over on the 1st of April?
It's not, no, it's the 1st of April, it's either the 1st of April or when the works are complete, whichever is soonest.
Okay, well, when do we get to know when the works are complete to our satisfaction?
Well, as they do it, when they do the works, they'll inform us that they're done, and then we can go and check them. And that can be either we can check them, or we could even get our grounds maintenance people to go and check them along with the clerk.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. So basically, it's along with the heads of terms, which everybody has seen. It's tying them, and also with that document which I read out, which I gave to Richard, where we bounce things back from that meeting, and they will add those into the heads of terms. Okay. But I think at that point, that's one of the reasons that the next bit of this is that we then pass it on to our solicitors to sort of look at it in detail.
The reason I asked those questions is that most members around the table haven't seen the heads of terms.
No.
So,
well, the heads of terms were the thing that was on that slideshow, which you came to, Stan came to, George came to.
That's for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
Okay. On can I take the vote then on item 1?
That's my proposal.
Proposed by Councillor Lowe.
Can I make an amendment?
You can
based on that it must be very, very clear so that we don't take it over unless the work is completed, because as you say, there's been 2 years of nothing, and I think we need the proposal. I will vote for it if that's put in.
That is actually in the heads of terms, Mark.
But I think it's got to be very clear in our resolution again that that is the terms and conditions.
I don't mind reiterating in the proposal that specifically
everything that's on that list.
All of the schedule of works must be completed.
Are you making a proposal to amend this then, and what's your amendment?
Subject to the final.
If I can make an amendment that it includes that the takeover is subject to all agreed work being completed. If it's not, then we don't take it over.
I'm happy with that.
So nothing gets signed.
I think it's more than covered in the heads of terms, but I think Martin is making a valid point.
Anyway.
I know it is, but it's the fact that he's made it, I'm happy.
But it's not in the minutes.
No, that's fine.
No cross-table chat, please.
Sorry, Chair.
That's what I'm saying. It's in the minutes. You've got to be very precise, and I'm sure the chairman would agree with
that.
Right,
you've made a proposal there, subject to all works.
All works that have been agreed must be completed before we agree any finalisation of the takeover.
Completed before takeover
is signed or whatever.
Yes. Accepted.
Except whatever word they use.
Is that all right? Yeah. Right, doesn't have to be.
I'm happy with what.
Okay.
That needs to be seconded.
So subject to that proposal.
Proposal with that amendment that subject to all agreed works must be completed before takeover is accepted. Seconded by Councillor Kennedy. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Against? 1. You want it recorded, Michael?
I do.
Okay.
And then the second proposal, Chairman, is just that OTC, based on that, now would instruct their solicitor to review these heads of terms and prepare the documents with the clerk, Richard, and the Rutland County Council, subject to and agreed with any of these suggested recommendation amendments ready for the Chairman to sign. And the recommendations and amendments would be things like what Martin has just alluded to there.
That's recommended by Councillor Lowe, seconded by Councillor Lucas. All those in favour?
Yep.
I have
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those against?
I will vote against because it's not clear to me what it's going to cost.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Maybe it'll be reported back to us.
Okay, the next one is strategic plan. Councillor Hale.
A number of couple of meetings ago, I submitted a paper which gave an outline of what a strategic plan is and why I thought we needed it. And from that, the working group was formed to produce the document that you've got in front of you now. I won't read it all out. I'm going through it. I will take any questions that you may have concerning what things means and what we're proposing for or recommending for strategies.
I think just to highlight things, the strategies. Okay. The strategies which the working group have come up with are strategies 1 to 9 from the bottom of the first page and top of the second. They are not exclusive or exhaustive. They could be changed at any time, and we may not pick them all up, but over a period of time of working on them, we will find out foibles of it. So they are the ones which we're proposing tonight for acceptance. Questions? Councillor Brookes.
I quite like to move forward that we're actually getting some sort of plan, but I'd quite like to see that perhaps the community we represented gets a bit more of a mention in here. Because that's at the end of the day, well, where it says on item 6, work in partnership with Rutland County Council and other partner groups, I think it should also somehow be worded that we will work with the community. That's worked very well with the neighbourhood plan thing so far, but I think it would be nice if people could see that we were willing to work with them because we represent them.
Okay, do you want to make a proposal to change that?
I would like to propose that. I don't know how you want to
What
work.
added words do you want on there?
Sorry?
It's just strategy number 6, you want to change that slightly?
Please, to include residents.
We'll work within partnership with the Rutland County Council and other partner groups, which includes residents groups, obviously, for the benefit
Well,
of
just the residents we represent, rather than because it sorry? Local community or...
Okay, I'm just trying to finalise the wording there. Work with and in partnership with Rutland County Council and other partner groups for the benefit of the community? Is that the sort of thing you're looking for?
Well, I would like the residents sorry, I'd like it worded so that the residents are included.
Can't you just say with, Chairman, with Rutland County Council, the community and other partner groups?
Yeah, if the community makes it a bit... Yeah. Otherwise it looks like we're just working in a group with councillors.
Are there any questions on the paper? What it would mean for anybody, if you are presenting a paper to the council, at the bottom of the paper you would have to state which strategy the paper refers to, so that we know it's part of the strategic plan. If you can't identify a strategy, which you should do, they're fairly broad, then obviously it's not working within the strategic plan, is it? So it will be able to identify that more accurately. Any questions on this? No? Okay. Okay, I'll over the page then. Recommendation is that members are asked to adopt and embrace the proposed mission statement, which is for the strategic plan strategies and working group action plan, which is over the page. I think that just shows you what an action plan would look like for any working group, so they stick to the plan. Okay, so first of all is to adopt and embrace the mission statement, which you've got in front of you. The strategies with the amendment on strategy number 6, which now reads work with and in partnership with Rutland County Council, the community and other partner groups. And the action plan, which is the third page, it's just an indication of a format which could be used or should be used by all working groups. Okay. Can I have a proposal for number 1, please? Councillor Hopkins, second. Councillor Howard. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Working group strategy assurance to be a standing agenda item on the relevant committee or council. So there will be an item, a standing item on every committee or council meeting. Okay. To report back on how things are going. I'm proposing that this. Councillor Kennedy, second. Councillor Neely. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. To adopt the practice of indicating the strategy that the report refers to. That's what I was just mentioning about being on the bottom of every report will be which strategy the report refers to. All those in favour? Sorry, let me first ask for a proposal. Councillor Howard, seconded. Councillor Hopkins. All in favour? Is that unanimous? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Reports.
And I just, when you made the amendment, were we not supposed to vote for that amendment?
I read the amendment out as a strategy.
But everyone was happy with that amendment?
Oh yeah, unanimous, yeah. Okay. Audit reports.
So we had the internal auditor in the middle of last month, and really what we were concentrating on, what the internal auditor was concentrating on last time was how the council goes through its procurement process. So what you've got there is observations, etc., on it. He was here for quite a long time while we were going through it. The main part of this on the procurement is recommendations 5.1 to 5.4 on page 3, which we would obviously would like the council to agree to. One of the issues mentioned by the internal auditor is in 5.4, where our current financial regulations has a very, very low limit for me to strive to obtain 3 estimates. The internal auditor considers that is too low, and that the council should consider increasing this. His recommendation is to at least £201. Conclusions are that we are doing things fairly well, is in accord with the financial regulations. The recommendations that I'd like the council to approve will further strengthen that procurement process. Finally, what we have as Appendix A is an interim report as to where we were and where we currently are. And you can see that most of these have been actioned. There are some that are still ongoing, primarily about the account system. A report will be with council in January on the accounting system, and the HR policies. So we are doing reasonably okay with the auditor. It's a case of agreeing to the recommendations made by him as regards procurement. Any questions? No?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't like to be first each time.
The only one each time.
Sorry?
The only one each time.
Well, the clerk has answered one of my points, and I'm concerned because of the difficulties that are going on with accounts, that the delay and the reason given in 1.1, I believe it is. I'm having difficulty reading this sideways online, but I think as sooner the better that the software for new accounting is implemented. It will be the best thing possible. The other one is a bit of a minor issue, and I don't understand the sort of reasoning on it, and it almost seems a bit flippant about the security of money, the risk, when it says that, you know, I don't want to go into details, but you know, there was a risk the other day, and to have petty cash in the office not in a secured environment, I think is something that should be looked at. And you know, to say that the risk outweighs the loss, or whatever it says there sideways, I think we need to look at the situation that we do take a bit of care of public money, a bit better than that comment that's on that document, and perhaps we get a little safe on the wall, whether it's digital or not, because £200 to some people is a lot of money. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Can I just add, Chairman, that the Finance Working Group will be intending by January to have completed a reassessment of the various levels of authorities for spending, for authorising spending and then paying. And there's a deliberate distinction between those two that we've already discussed, and we need to finish that work and should be able to by January. In other words, even if something is authorised, should it eventually be paid, has the work been carried out to an acceptable standard? So, once and for all, we will be aiming to get rid of the uncertainties and some of the questions that have cropped up at these meetings since I've been coming to them about was this or that person authorised to authorise expenditure, or was this or that person authorised to actually pay it? And that should be completed by January.
Thank you. Any other points? Okay, so we're looking at recommendations now on page 3 of the Internal Auditor's report. And we have 4 recommendations before us, and that recommendation one is that a copy works order is matched to the relevant invoice and a unique invoice reference, voucher reference number is copied onto the works order. This will help identify outstanding works. So it's, the works order is matched to the relevant invoice and the unique invoice reference number is attached, copied onto the works order. Can I have a proposer to accept? Councillor Hale, seconded. Councillor Lowe, all in favour? Unanimous. 2, where an order has been placed by email rather than a works order, then the good audit practice should be for a copy of the relevant email correspondence to be either be filed as a substitute works order or attached to the supplier invoice when received. And proposer for that, please. Councillor Howard, seconded. Councillor Stubbs, in favour? Unanimous. And 3, where a goods received note is figure, proposed by Councillor Howard, seconded by Councillor Stubbs. All in favour, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You are. Is that last minute? Okay. Unanimous. Thank you for finding the fact. Okay. Local plan. We've been asked for comments. I don't know if anybody's seen the consultation booklet, issues and options consultation. In that booklet there are 20 questions. Sounds like an old radio program. Anyway, that dates you that this time. Out of those 20 questions, I think there's about half a dozen which are really pertinent to Oakham. Many are about minerals and waste disposal and things like that, which are pertinent to Oakham, but I don't know whether we can even get into that at the moment. We really need to concentrate, I think, on the questions which I've put before you. So, really, to get some concise information across and pass it back to the plans at Rutland, I've highlighted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think it is, 5 questions, 6 questions, sorry, which I think we need to answer tonight. And the first one is question 4, and it says the current strategic housing market assessment indicates a need for an average of 173 new homes per annum in Rutland over the period of the plan, which is 2015 to 2036, or a total of 3,640 new homes over the 21-year period. And the question 4 asks, how much new housing should the local plan review provide for in Rutland over the next 21 years? And the options are A, provide for the level of growth as indicated, i.e. 173 dwellings per year, or B, provide for a higher level of growth, or C, provide for a lower level of growth. Your views?
When I've looked at that, I was happy with what the review had suggested.
Okay. So, Councillor was saying
option A.
Option A. Councillor for option A. Anybody else want? Councillor Brookes.
As I put in my email, I'm concerned that with them that they don't seem to be putting anything about affordable housing. So that's saying 100.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about the numbers there.
Yes, but we can specify.
Yeah, there's other areas I think where you can comment on that, but I'm not included in these.
But then I could include that as a thing if people agreed.
Yeah, I mean, or you could put it in as a personal point if you want to.
But I was thinking perhaps the council might be concerned that people can't afford to buy property.
Okay.
Just to
anyway, we've got proposal for option A at the moment. Oh, sorry, my apologies, Councillor.
Yeah, do we know where RCC got these numbers from? I mean,
yeah, from the strategic housing market assessment.
I'd like a bit of information on those numbers.
I'm not very well informed, I must admit, but I believe it's sort of the indication that the government has passed down as a number of homes that they require.
Like a national plan.
It's part of a national plan.
Are we sure they haven't already reached that?
Not between 2015 and 2036. That's projected 3,640 homes during that period. That discounts anything which has already been agreed, like Mark's meeting.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay. Do you want a proposal for you for the option A?
Yes,
I'll second.
All those in favour of option A? 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Against?
I'm for it.
You're 7 for them. Those against? 7 for. Those against? 1. Abstaining? 2. Thank you very much. And then on question 7, in terms of the split between towns and villages, the core strategy requires that about 70% of new housing should be located in Oakham and Uppingham, 20% within and adjoining the local service centres, which are the larger villages, and 10% in smaller villages. So question 7 then asks, do you agree that the distribution of growth between the towns and villages in Rutland should A. maintain the current apportionment of new development between the towns and villages, provide for a high proportion of growth in Oakham, provide for a high proportion of growth in Uppingham, or provide for high level of growth in the local service centres, which are the larger villages?
Which one?
I would propose A again.
I'd second that.
Okay, any
Can we have
questions?
a debate?
Yeah, go
Right,
ahead.
thank you. I've spoken with Uppingham
Yeah.
at length, as you imagine. I think the proportion is a bit out of kilter. I don't think it should be 80, where are we? 70 and 20 in Uppingham.
No, it's not. It's 70 located in Oakham and Uppingham, 70% of the houses in Rutland.
Oakham and Uppingham.
So between Oakham and Uppingham, they would have 70% of all the new homes in Rutland.
Right. It's, the current, right, it's a bit lower down there when I want to
Yeah, it's the
speak
next question you're looking at.
I do have a bit of a problem that there are plenty larger conurbations other than Oakham and Uppingham. Is it at this point that I say that? Because we have Cottesmore, Whistendine. They're quite big conurbations, together with Empingham and the other one was cited. Ketton, sorry, I knew there were 4. And I think really they should be taking a bit higher share. That was all I was going to say. It's not sufficient to make the villages into towns. Let's get that right. But there could be a little bit more leeway with the larger conurbations, taking just a few more.
Taking that into account then, what do you think the percentage should be for Oakham and Uppingham?
For Oakham and Uppingham?
Yeah, presently it's 70%. If you say that the
It's
larger
lower,
villages should
well, the discussion that I've had with people in Uppingham is, and we went through all the things like, yes, we've got a medical practice, yes, we've got a library, yes, we've got this, yes, we've got that. Where Oakham stands out is that we have got a railway station. And that's why people come to... I know of several people that work in London on a daily basis. And though I think we ought to take more than Uppingham, I think really and truly we shouldn't be such a wide gap between the two towns. But we must take into account that we do have a railway station, and that's why they commute all over the country, really.
So what you're proposing then, Joyce, is that Oakham and Uppingham, 70% of the new houses in Oakham and Uppingham should be lower than 70%.
Yes.
And 20% within the larger villages should be higher.
Yes, but I don't know what.
You're not going to put a figure on it?
No, I'm not going to put a figure on it. I think that, sorry sir, I think that the larger conurbation should take a few more.
Okay. So we're looking at D. Okay. Very quickly. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, I got a bit confused. We are looking at question 7 now, aren't we? But still, but it includes the end of question 4, doesn't it?
No.
It does on my paper. Those figures about the allocation, 70 and 20%. Well, that's what it says here. Look. I don't know if it's going to do the same. But anyway, I came to the neighbourhood plan thing, the last one, and just before I came out of the house, there was a promotion on Rutland Radio News from Rutland County Council, and they said that, because they were having something upstairs which I went to about the plan, and they said, whoever it was, they didn't identify him, but they said Oakham had got enough houses, and that basically they would be looking for option D, and I tend to agree with that with Joyce, with the villages she's mentioned. I wouldn't want to see villages like Greetham added to because they've already got so much infill, it's unbelievable. But the larger village, as Joyce has mentioned, I would support option D.
Okay, so I can tell you which the larger villages are, according to them.
Can I just ask a
Yeah,
question or
go
make
ahead.
an observation if possible?
Yeah.
Just one thing on 70%. We could be, either Uppingham or Oakham could get 69% and the other get 1%. It doesn't actually define.
Doesn't the next question?
Does it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. The larger villages are Cottesmore, Edith Weston, Empingham, Great Caston, Greetham, Ketton, Langham, Ryle and Wissendine. So it's quite a few. Okay. So it looks like, unless any other comments on this, looks like we might have a proposition for option D there.
We've got one from option A on the table, proposed by Stan, seconded by Vince. Option A.
Okay, sorry, I forgot that so long ago. We have a proposal then to maintain the current apportionment for the new development between the towns and villages, which is option A, proposed by Vince, seconded by
I'm quite happy to withdraw my second.
Vince, are you happy to withdraw it?
Yes, if
Okay.
Dan's withdrawing the proposal, I have to withdraw the second.
Okay, so it looks like then option D, provide for a higher level of growth at local service centres, which is the larger villages. Proposal for that then, please.
Yes.
Councillor Lucas, second. Councillor Brookes. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Against? 1. Abstain?
Sorry, yeah.
You're against? Yeah, okay, 2 against. On to the next question. It says the current apportionment of new development between Oakham and Uppingham is 80-20, i.e. between 2015 and 2030 Oakham has 880 new properties, Uppingham 220, which averages out at Oakham 42 per annum and Uppingham 10 per annum. So on question 8, do you agree that the distribution of new development between Oakham and Uppingham should maintain the current apportionment of new development between Oakham and Uppingham, provide for higher growth at Uppingham, provide for higher growth in Uppingham or another option? I think it'd be a little bit much for us to say, well, we won't have so much in Uppingham, we can have some more. It might not be the way to take that. Any questions on that? You're picking up all the line dancing?
Yeah, it's a bit...
Okay.
Say again. Sorry.
The proportion between Oakham and Uppingham is presently 80-20.
Yeah.
Which gives Oakham 42 new developments per year, Uppingham 10. So, do we agree that the distribution of the new development between Oakham and Uppingham should maintain the current apportionment of 80-20, provide for a higher growth in Oakham, provide for a higher growth in Uppingham, or any other option? So, if you're saying that in the previous question that there should be a lower amount, lower than 20% of the houses should be in Oakham and Uppingham, which we've just voted on, then obviously that would fall through and the averages in Oakham and Uppingham would fall as well. Do you want to maintain the current apportionment of 80-20 between Oakham and Uppingham?
No, I'd rather Oakham came down slightly. I'm not talking about hundreds and hundreds.
No.
And Uppingham go up slightly. But I don't know what.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think you'd be able to give the figures, will you? Are we?
I think I heard it, but I think we have to go for option D, another option, which is obviously based on the figure that I'm not a mathematician,
No,
so I'm not
okay.
going to give a figure and get it.
It's okay, what's the other option? There's no saying another option, but not saying what it is.
Well, it's a decrease, isn't it?
For whom?
For Oakham.
Okay, so you want a decrease for Oakham and an increase for Uppingham. Is that what you're saying?
We just exceed it.
Well, we don't really have a say on Uppingham, do we?
Well, yeah, you don't. You just pick option C then, provide a higher growth level in Uppingham. Which would mean a lower growth rate in Oakham, wouldn't it?
200 off Oakham and 200 pushing on Uppingham. Does that sound right?
Well, I don't know whether you can actually say the numbers.
Right.
But
you've
So
got
what do you
60-40, haven't you?
yeah, you could. I mean, you could say 60-40 rather than 80-20. Thinking about
Yeah.
it. Yes, yeah. So another option could be 60-40 if that's something you feel should be right.
I think if we go option D, another option, and we need to then put a figure in, you'd go for 60-40. But personally, I think that if we just said that provide for a higher growth level in Uppingham, would naturally reduce it in Oakham.
Yes.
And I think Uppingham, don't forget, is considerably smaller than Oakham.
Yes.
So I would propose option C.
Okay, any other comments before we second that?
Explain like that, it makes sense.
Okay.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Seconded. So we're going for option C, provide for a high growth level in Uppingham, proposed by Councillor Lowe, seconded by Councillor Haley. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? 1. Now then, on this one, this is the potential growth directions in Oakham. And there are 9 potential growth directions, is there? 8. Okay, just let me turn it over on that. Right, so potential growth area 1 is the previously land and buildings previously developed land and buildings within the built-up area of the town. Now that could be east or west of the town centre, but within the bypass to the east, and within the final line of development to the west. So it wouldn't mean that we're going to extend further west, I don't think. Okay. Any views on that? And you've got the factors there, which are the factors proposed by the County Council plans. I think what they're looking at is the development of the West End when you go west, and also probably infilling in the developments up to the bypass to the east. Do we wish to see that? Does anybody else want to come for a break? I'll do a shorter job. Anybody else? Yeah, okay, come. 2 or 3 minutes. 2 or 3 suspend in the paper on the 7th and 8th of January, which is the publication date for the Times and the Mercury. The only problem with putting an article in is you cannot put it in. And sometimes they will change what's put in. So it all depends what you want. An advert will go in and will cost, but at least we will know that we're putting into the paper what we want putting in. Now, if we can do them on the 25th of January, we then have council on the 10th of February where the decision can be made whether to go up or not.
9th of February.
No, it's the 10th, you got it wrong down. That's incorrect, typo. So the next council is the 10th of February, after the January. So, any views on that?
That's a good timeline.
It's difficult to compress it any more than that, I must admit, especially with
I think it should be in advert, because then we say what.
Yes, I think we've all had problems with papers doctoring our press releases. I'll come in round.
The only trouble with the advert, I agree, we should have one, but it's where it goes.
It is.
It goes in the classified adverts.
They tend to put it towards the back.
Yeah, and it's questionable how many people will see it.
I know. I mean,
unless we put it in pink.
But it's also gone to the website, can go to the County Council website, we've gone to the partnership website, all those sorts of things.
We've got a better chance if we pay for an advert and then put an article in, because that would you'd get both, because they would want you to pay first of all.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Okay. Right.
Sorry, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, there are different options. You could pay for an advertising feature, then they have to write what you do, but at the same time, if we just say to them, we want to put an advert in, they will just put it there. But if you ask them how much will it cost to go on page 1 or page 2 or 3, then they will give you a price. So I have no objection to it going in, but obviously that needs to be decided where, because I think people need to know. Okay. What I do object to, and I've said it before in the past, is I don't think, because there's nothing in statute or law, we don't need to interview these people. One of the councillors suggested at one point, I may be wrong, but they might have not been for it, but if we get applicants, there's no reason why they couldn't just come and just speak for a very short time at the meeting. I really don't see the purpose of interviewing the people, especially if not everybody is turning up. I think sometimes questions are asked that are not really appropriate.
I think what you're saying is part of a selection process anyway, which is what an interview is. The interview is a selection process. Having people in to talk to you is still a selection process.
But I think it
If you've
should
got
be
two
more
vacancies and
open
three-
than...
If you've got 2 vacancies and 3 applicants, then you've got to whittle them down somehow, which is a selection
Yeah.
process.
But I think it should be different from the sit-down. I don't think the sit-down, ask the questions thing is an appropriate way of doing it. It's better than where it's been done in the distance past, but I'm not too keen on interviewing.
Okay, any other questions on that?
Going on from that, of course, the discussion of who, if we have 3 for two vacancies, the discussion should be in private and then brought to council.
Well, we've got...
But we can't discuss while they're all, if 3 of them are sitting there, as to who's going to get...
Okay,
You see what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Okay, first of all then... Sorry, Michael, I didn't see that.
Would it be possible to get the views of at least 2 people here who were subject to this process 6 months ago, Michael and Jasmine? As to what
And you find
credibility was?
I didn't find it intimidating coming in.
No. Is it what you were expecting, was it?
No, not really. But I don't know what I was expecting.
Right.
But I didn't find it intimidating.
Did you come on corruption, Mike?
Yeah, and I didn't find the questions very searching. I think they're going to be more searching, but the process on it's fine.
Sorry, don't stand up.
I have to say that I think that the process we used to have, which was 3 members
Yes.
interviewing, is far better.
Yes.
Because you can ask certain questions.
And it can...
And you know, you might have a list of questions and then you can follow on. Because it's essential that you get the right people. And if there is 1 vacancy and 1 person, unless you interview them properly, you don't know whether you want them or you don't want them.
And I do.
If there's 2 vacancies, if only 2 people apply, I think that they should automatically be co-opted on, because if they called an election and they were unopposed, then they'd get on. If there's 3 people, then I think that's when the interview process should go in to see who has got more aware about them or aware of what the council does. There is an element where people come on, they're not don't know what we do. But I do think there's an element where if there's vacancies and there's only 2 people applying, 1 person applies, it should be that they're accepted, their co-option is almost complete.
No, I've spoken already. Is it a quick one?
Yeah, I don't want to see us going back. I don't mean any offence to Stan, but I don't want us to go back to the situation where 3 people interview and then come to council and say we recommend this person that we don't even know. But I am totally against co-option and the process, because if somebody wants
We've
to...
got co-option, whether you're against
Yeah, I know, but I'm just explaining why if somebody wants to come to this council, I don't believe it's up to me to decide yes or no, you can't be on the
we accept that
council.
you don't like co-option, but we're not talking about the process.
Well, we're talking about the process, and
Yeah,
I
we've
wondered
got to
if
co-op,
we should
so
go
it's
back
whether If you don't
to...
like it, then I'm afraid
Well,
that's the way
we
it
could
is.
go back to just letters of
Right, okay.
application.
Can I go back to the decision?
Well, I actually wanted to go 1 step further and say that on the decisions required, that I'd actually like to propose that in the event that only 2 people come forward for the 2 vacancies, that they are automatically accepted onto the council as a fait accompli.
We have to vote for them.
You've got standing orders that you can
One standing order, so okay. Anybody else? No, Michael.
Well, that just seems to negate the whole point of
This then,
any
interview.
selection.
Yeah.
You can see the logic of what you've just said.
Yeah.
So, but surely there's no argument. A selection process as to suitability is what I thought everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
If you follow that line of thought, you're automatically going to accept whoever applies, and they may or may not be. They may or may not be people who would come through a selection process.
But if the co-option process allows the council to actually make a decision, the election process does not, because if there's an election, then the electorate choose the person concerned. If there's co-option, then the council chooses the people concerned. That's the difference. Sorry, I'm just coming up to 9 o'clock. Can I have a propose to extend the meeting by half an hour, please?
Yes.
Second. Councillor Brookes. All those in favour of extending half an hour? Thank you very much. Okay, so can we get down to this? The decisions are to appoint a minimum of 3 councillors to conduct the interviews. That's in the standing orders. Now, it could be 3, it could be 10, we've got at the moment. The problem you've got, which I've always had problems with, if you're going to have 10 councillors interviewing, and you've got, I mean, one of the previous ones, we had about 5 or 6 people coming for interview. Each councillor then wants to ask a question, which is the right to do, but the standard of questions deteriorates, like I said. And what you're doing is each person just asking a question, and there's no backup, there's no interrogation as to how they feel about things or why they did things. It's just a question which people have got to ask, which I think is a deterioration of it.
Yes.
But it's up to you now. How many councillors would you like to conduct the interviews?
Can I suggest, because I understand what you're saying there, that you appoint perhaps the chairman, the deputy, and then one other councillor to ask the questions, then we'd look more professional, and then other members who have to make up their mind about these people can be present. I would be very happy with that, because I think that would be the best way forward. That it would look professional if you had prepared as a panel of 3, which is what I think, if you were going for a big job, that would be the normal outcome. But I think it would be good if we could sit in, if we wanted to see how those people answer, see how they react, because we've got to make up our own mind.
I agree with Martin, actually. If 4 councils got to vote somebody in, then I think 4 councils should be able to sit in on the interviews.
No, I'm sorry, Chair, I totally disagree. I would vote for the 3 people doing the interviewing. That's the only way you're going to get an in-depth inquiry into the background of those people. You could have somebody who you discover is totally wrong for one reason or another for the council.
Okay, you're against it. Any other thoughts?
I was just thinking that if you have 3 or 5 or whatever number, it's not so much an interview as a conversation between the candidate and the other. It's too, you ask that question and you ask that question. That is not on. It's got to be a bit more relaxed, a bit more of a conversation. How would you go about it? I think, and we all can't do that.
Well, I think that situation is looked after by the suggestion that Martin made. You have the conversation between the candidate and 3 people. You have some people listening to it. That seems to satisfy.
Yeah.
Well,
or around the table.
Whichever. I don't think it matters.
I think if you're going to have that, there's got to be an understanding that only the 3 people interviewing actually do the talk.
I thought that was the proposal.
Yes.
Nobody else suddenly butts in. Or
yes.
No, absolutely not.
No, it's got to be done professionally.
But they're making their own assessment instead of having it recommended to the market.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be councillors being there on an ad hoc basis, because the number of people there, it will alter the dynamics of the meeting, which wouldn't be fair on different candidates. So I think if it's going to be with 3 people interviewing, then it should, and then other councillors, it should be all of other councillors.
Okay. If you are going to say 3 councillors interview or 5 councillors interview, and you do not turn up to one of these sessions as you're proposing, there's no way you can say, well, I disagree with one or the other. If you don't turn up, then you lose the ability to make any selection, I suggest, because you've not seen the candidates. And therefore only the people, if you're going to do it that way, is have the people interviewing and the people attending. You've got to have confidence in the interviewers to be able to put those people.
I would have confidence in you to do it, and Adam and somebody else.
Okay, so...
But we do, I just say, we do need to be there, because we have to make a decision.
Yes, okay.
So,
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, do we wish to appoint 3 councillors to conduct the interviews? Yeah. Or do you wish 5?
5 would be too many.
3.
Okay, so I propose then that we appoint 3 councillors to conduct the interviews.
I'll second that.
All in favour? Oh, sorry, you say all in favour. Sorry. Okay, so we've got 3 councillors to conduct the interviews, and the 3 councillors then can we take nominations of who they are?
All 3, no, in one go.
Sorry.
All 3 in one
Okay.
go. Snakes.
Well, I think it's obviously because it's the council. I would nominate yourself and Adam as chairman and deputy, because that shows the thing. But I would leave it open to anybody else who wants to.
I would
I'll propose myself.
Oh,
Okay.
We might have to vote
Are
on
there
it
any
because
others
Joyce
wish
wants
to
to do
propose
it.
themselves?
yes.
So we've got.
I just think that it ought to be 2 men and a woman, but I'm not being
Well, there needs to be that
I'm not
split.
being sexist.
No, that's fair because.
Well, I'm
You know-
happy not to take part. I approve, thank you, Martin, for nominating.
Yeah, I only nominate you. If you don't want it, then
I would step back from this.
Okay. Is
I think
anybody
obviously
else?
the chairman.
Anybody else wish to be considered?
I do.
So we've got 3 people there wish to be considered for 2 slots. That's handy.
So we have to vote for Joyce, Dan or Michael.
Okay.
But 2 people.
How do we do this one?
We need paper.
No, we don't.
If you want to be on
Well, we
it.
got 2 votes.
Yeah,
If
don't.
you want to be on it.
Can we do
Don't
it?
get me
Well,
wrong.
no, well, what we have,
I'd like to go,
what,
yeah,
what we
yeah,
actually
yeah.
have is, it's been sort of proposed that the chairman is one of those in conducting the interviews. We also have Stan, who wants to be considered, Joyce, who wants to be considered, Michael wants to be considered.
Yeah.
Do you want to step down?
No, I think it's
No,
chairman. I'd
okay.
like to be on that. So,
Well-
first of all, can we take it the proposal saying me?
Yes.
Yes, we'll do.
So
I'll
we are going
propose.
to have to take this one at a time. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just a minute. Can we then?
Can I propose?
Forward.
I think it's too many.
Just a minute.
That's a bit forward.
You can't have even numbers.
I think that if I can propose the chairman, as you say, on his own, because he's the chairman of the interviewing
Okay.
panel.
Let's take that first.
Right, let's
So you're proposing the chairman to be on the interviewing panel.
Yes.
Can I have a seconder for that? All those in favour of the chairman being on there?
Okay, that's Martin.
Unanimous.
Can somebody listen to Jasmine?
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah.
That one had to go for a start because that was the only. Jasmine, you've got something to say now.
I just said 4, but you said we can't have even
Well, I
numbers.
think it's on wheels to have 4. You need an odd number.
Chair, can I say, if we have
We don't
4,
want to have
we're
Oh,
not.
that 4. I see what you mean now.
If we have 4, we're not voting.
No, we're not. Okay, I take your point, Jasmine. Sorry, I didn't
No,
follow that
4
through.
on the
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry. Okay, so
Then it is
if
no.
we now agree, okay, did we go for 3?
It was proposed by Adam, seconded by you, Alf. Unanimously agreed that the interview panel should be 3 councillors. Okay, so that went through. Okay,
Right.
so we're now.
Can we go back and rescind that? We don't have the 6-month rule now.
If you don't, if you want to go back,
Do we have to vote to rescind it?
I think,
Four-
can I
four
propose
members
that
on
we
the panel.
rescind it if these 3 nice
Can we just say
councillors
we
want
rescind
the
that
job?
decision?
Yeah.
Okay, can I take a proposal to rescind that decision to appoint 3 councillors? Stan, Jasmine. All in favour of rescinding the previous decision? Those against? Abstaining? You're abstaining?
No.
No, you're against. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for, 1 against. Do you want it recorded? Do you want
Okay.
your name recorded?
No.
Okay, rescinding that decision. Now then, can we just do a straight decision here that the members of there'll be 4 members of which will comprise the chairman, Councillor Stubbs, Councillor Lucas, Councillor Haley. Straight vote, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair with
All
that.
those in favour of that proposal? Sorry. Let's do a proposal first. Proposal. Jasmine, you
I'll
second that,
second.
Martin. All those in favour, please.
So-
Unanimous. Thank you. Right. Okay, the timetable for receipt of applications. We're
Can
looking for.
sorry, Chairman, can we have a resolution that other members can attend, so there's not a problem?
Yeah, there's no problem with that.
Okay.
No problem. We'll run it like that. Is that everybody wants to run it that way?
Absolutely.
Okay, so other members can attend, but on the understanding
They're not answering.
that there's no comments from
We'll
those
be
members.
sitting here.
Well, whichever way. No comments, and that.
And no cameras.
No,
yeah,
of course
well,
not.
it goes without saying, there'll be no cameras.
No, we've done it before.
Yeah. But what was the thing? You just took it out of my mind then. What's the answer?
And fancy grass.
No, those who don't attend.
Yes, that's the one. That you need, if we have, for instance, a large number of...
Isn't that
Well,
precisely
I thought-
what the staffing
I
committee
thought-
is for?
By these papers going out 3 days ago, then people had a chance to think through them.
Well, no, that's fair enough, but
Yeah.
shouldn't the staffing committee be bringing some consistency?
The problem with that is, if you delay, then that would delay the entrance of our staff into the pension scheme.
No, well, the intention of what I just suggested wasn't to delay, it was just that is
They
isn't
can't
that a
go
more
in scheme until
appropriate.
we decide this. But the default position is the no cost to the town council.
It just seems that it's something the staffing committee should be looking at and making a recommendation about. Just that's what the nature of it.
Is that a proposal?
Well,
I mean,
by all means, if you want to. Martin.